everyone. I'm Adrienne Meldrum, the owner and founder of Made for Math. Joining me today is my trusty operations manager, Heather Brand. We're so excited to take you on a preview of the CRA Club. This has been something that we've been working on for a really long time. It's basically everything that we do with our team to get students results, but now we've put it in such a format that we could expand our mission as a team out into school settings, home schools, other tutoring centers, so that more students have access to this methodology. We basically created the resource that we needed, right? You can get all the training in the world, and then when you finish it, you kind of feel like, and now what? Right? And so we've just curated a lot of resources over the years together, and we wanted to make that available to you. So I'm going to turn the time over to Heather, and we're going to go on a quick navigation of the back end so you can kind of see what's inside of it.
All right. So once you log in, this is a screen you'd land on, and you wouldn't see as many tiles as I do. You would see this CRA Club tile, and you would click here. So once you click there, you land in the CRA Club, and you can see each module. So Adrienne, talk us through, where do we want to go first?
So obviously, we're going to pick the one that says start here. I know it's tempting to jump around, but the start here is important because we show you how to navigate this platform and give you a suggested pacing for getting through the content.
Cool. And note that you have to click on the Access Now button, not just the image. So click here. So you've got some videos, and as you go through these Start Here videos, make sure after you watch that you click Complete and Continue, because that can unlock some of the content.
That's right. Once you fill out the form, it's like one simple question. It's just telling us, which hat do you currently wear? Are you a parent? Are you a teacher, a therapist, something else? That just helps us kind of know who's inside of the club and how we can best guide your experience.
Yep. So then you move on. I'll click Complete and Continue here as well. And you land in the directions for the community. And it has some links to head on over there. And you can also click here to add our mentor support calls to the calendar.
Yep. And notice how this says lesson content is locked. So if you miss hitting that Complete and Continue, that's what you need to do, is go to the previous one, click Complete and Continue, and then it unlocks the next lesson. See? Easy as that.
I missed one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Watch
yeah, so these are a little bit of background of like who Heather and I are and what our journey was to becoming experts in this methodology. So you'll want to watch those to get to know us a little bit better, but also tells you how to get to our mentor support calls, because it'll be us there on the weekly and sometimes other coaches from our team.
So then after you get that set up, you can come over here and get some tips on how to navigate the content. Oh, Complete and Continue. There we go. Navigate the content and pace yourself. And you can set, let's do Complete and Continue again. You can set a goal for your first win. Oh, no, that's the next one. Set a goal. So this is your first win.
Yep. Yeah, we want you to be able to apply something that's relatively easy to implement. Subitizing is a great one. And so when you get your first win, you'll see that this is relatively easy to implement if you just do it one piece at a time. And so with that, then we say, now let's set a goal, and you can track your progress.
There we go.
Yeah. So here we wanted to show you, this is basically what new hires at Made for Math do. They have a list of things that they need to complete training-wise. And so we've adjusted it with you in mind, that you're most likely either working full-time or you're homeschooling a child full-time. And so we adjusted how much time it takes to complete the training, but it's the same progression.
So if you're gung-ho, you could totally, knock out, have 1 week where you're full-time training. Maybe in the summer, that's a good thing for you. But for most people, you're probably doing it on the side, and this is a good progression. As you go through the content, if there's any questions that you have or suggestions that you have, you can go on to this Contact Us section and email us at support@madeformath.com.
That's right.
I have a couple questions here too. Okay, so let's go back to this main landing page. Where should we go next?
Let's show them really quick the mentor calls. Currently, as of this recording, we do mentor calls twice a month. It may increase as more members join, but currently right now it's twice per month. And you'll find all of the upcoming calls here listed. And there's a link that you can subscribe to. So it's just always on your calendar and it's available for you. Heather, what's your advice for people who want to attend those coaching calls? How can they get the most out of that experience?
Oh, that's a good question. So what I would recommend, make sure you add it to your calendar. Right now, there are no events showing because we've just finished our June events. But as you go on into other months, you'll see the other ones. And we answer as many questions as we can live. But if you submit your question in advance, there's a form there to submit. Maybe we can show an example of that on one of them. How we can see that this one has ended, but there's a form to submit questions. So if you submit your question in advance, that gives us time to maybe gather any additional resources. Sometimes we've had questions about certain assessments that people wanted us to review. And so if you submit it in advance, it gives us time to form even more details for our answer to your question. So I would recommend doing that. And if you can't attend live, that's another reason you have this form. You can still submit your question. We'll still answer it and record it, and you can watch at your leisure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And don't be shy about coming. It's usually a smaller group. And we do get to know each other, but the groups they change, as far as who's there. And then there's always those that love to come to every single one. But it's there if you need it. And so the point of these mentor calls is to help you navigate the experiences that you're having in there, but also troubleshoot. Maybe you've got a student that's really struggling with bundling tens or something, and you are just stumped. This is where you would come and get some advice.
Awesome. Great feedback.
Okay. Yeah. And then from here, we have the community. So if you go in the community, you come in here and you can introduce yourself. And in the upper right corner, there is a button that says discussion. This is the only thing that's kind of strange in this platform. When you click the discussion button, you can see the comments and questions that come up. And so people here are introducing themselves. And then as our community continues to grow, you'll see that maybe there will be different topics that show up. So right now we have introduce yourself and we have a celebrate your wins. But at some point in the future, I would anticipate there'd be one that's about place value, one that's about fractions, maybe one about word problems, where people can ask more direct questions and get feedback from everybody in the group instead of just one or two people.
Awesome. And that's a great option too. If you have a question and we're not close to a mentor call, you can ask here.
Exactly. So those are the baseline of what you need to do. And then from here, they're kind of listed in order of what we would suggest you looking at.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and check out the base camp. So I would highly recommend that you start here because this is all of the background information. So we've got some info on numeracy and some math myths. We talk about learning differences and how they impact math learning. We talk about our connection to reading and the reading research and how we can relate that to math. The basics for CRA, if you're new to CRA altogether, subitizing. Talk about math language and our lesson plan, word problems, and some extras. So I would definitely start here because this really informs what you're doing in the other units. Once you've completed that, we have our assessment. At the time of this recording, you can see we're still building this piece out, but you can still take a peek. But for now, I think we'll skip past it. And here we have the content areas. So they're kind of in order of progression that obviously kids need place value before they start adding and subtracting, things like that. But each unit is here. So if you were teaching a unit on multiplication and division and you don't necessarily have time to watch every unit before that, then you could come start here on multiplication and division and go through the progression. But since we're new to this, let's go back and start in place value kind of at the beginning. Show you where it starts.
And I think it would be helpful to note that the goal of the assessment is to be done in such a way that you do the assessment, you find your first starting point, and everything inside of the CRA Club correlates to that assessment.
Right. So if you see that the kid has holes in place value, then it tells you, okay, you're going to come straight here, and here's how you teach place value. So it helps you know what to do with that data instead of just screening and saying, well, the kid's behind and now what do I do? That sometimes is how it feels at school. So we've tried to answer that question for you. So each unit starts with a little video that walks you through what it looks like to teach in that content area. And we have these visual progressions we've been working on as well. We'll just take a peek at this one. There's a lot of visuals in this one, so it takes a second.
Yeah, it takes a second to load it. While it's loading, I want to point out there's a download button. Do you see the download button, Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people miss it. It's just not big enough, bold enough, but there it is. If you want to keep it on your device, you click that download button.
Yep. Okay, so here's the place value quick reference that we just downloaded. And you can see that it shows the standards and how they flow across grade levels. So kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and what some of the visuals can look like for those objectives. So that you have this quick reference for how to teach the content area and just kind of a fun, quick reminder of what you watched in the video. Let's go back here. Then you go on to the next section. So that section will have the vocabulary sheets that go with that unit. And it may have some of the phrasing that we use when we teach that unit. So we can come down here and just show you a sample. Each vocabulary card has an image. It has the word. In some cases, it shows you what the numeral looks like. It shows you the movement. So we've put a sign in there. Sometimes it's actual sign language, but something that students can use when they're practicing that word. And we have the definition there. So you could practice covering up parts of this when you're reviewing and cover up the definition and say, what's the definition of one? Or you could cover up one and say, if I have a single unit, what's the word for that? And you could also practice the movement. Show me the movement for one. The kids would hold it up.
Mm-hmm.
And this little code right here, it also shows video of what it looks like for someone to do this sign, just for some of the ones that are less intuitive. This one's obviously pretty intuitive. But
Yeah. I love our vocabulary sheets. They do a great job. The spinning circle of death.
Well, I'm going to move on to... Okay, so next we have CRA examples. And so this is where we've gone through and shown some pictures of what we did in the video training. So you have a quick review of what it looks like to teach a topic at the concrete level, at that representational level with pictures, and at the abstract level, if there are supports like a place value chart, we've included those here. Then we've included games and activities that you can play with students. Just kind of scroll through these quickly. And then in this near point references section, this is any of the math organizers from the unit that are here again, just so you have one go-to place to grab these PDFs. And so each one for place value, it goes through each section. So we just looked at quantity manipulation, but then it would go on to expanded form, and you can see it's repeating that same pattern, the vocab sheets, the CRA examples, games and activities, near point references. goes through each of those. And then there's a feedback section at the end, so that if you noticed anything as you were going through here, you can quickly get to the feedback section and leave us some notes or feedback of what you liked. We like to hear it all. If you notice anything that needs edited, let us know. So there's a sample of place value kind of at the beginning. What do you think we should go to next? Maybe fractions?
I think fractions.
In the
Yeah.
midway? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it's following that same format. You're going to have a video that teaches you what to do. And then let's see, maybe let's pick one of these topics like fraction, addition, and subtraction, just to show some other examples. We got fraction. A fraction's part of a whole. So here are our vocab cards. If you click on this, it loads the rest of the cards as a PDF. They can be downloaded and printed. You could put them on your wall if you'd like, or use them like a reading deck, as a reading review deck, except in this case it'd be a math review deck. Let's take a look at some of our CRA examples. You can see some of the concrete ways that we work on fractions. Some of the visuals. And some of the graphic organizers that we have to support students as they get to these higher level abstract concepts. All right. So then let's see. Anything else you want to take a look at while we're in here today, Adrienne?
Nothing that I think they get the idea behind that. I think what I'm anticipating is they're wondering, well, what about like lesson plans? And so I wanted to talk about that we have plans to add lesson plans, but inside of Base Camp, we teach you how to take these materials that are in here and create a lesson plan that's tailored to the student you're working with. As you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all experience when you're working at a tier 3 intervention type level. And so that's why we're hesitant to just put lesson plans in there, because they may work and it may not work for that student, right? You would know best based on your experience. And so leaning into the Base Camp and learning how to do the lesson plan, every module in there is kind of organized to the pieces of parts you need for your lesson plan. So that's how it's organized, and that's the intention behind it.
Right, because we can put sample lesson plans in, but each student needs their own set of focus facts when you're doing tier 3 type of thing. So focus facts would be like facts that the student knows or is targeting, so that they can move on to higher level content, even if they don't know all math facts. And so each student would need their lesson tailored a little bit differently depending on their learning needs. And so that's what we teach you how to do. And you can use your classroom or your homeschool curriculum and pair it with this, so that this fills the gaps that your curriculum is missing. And we kind of talk about that too in the Base Camp of curriculums are usually missing something kind of on one side or the other. And we walk through what that is and how to accommodate for that. So, yeah. But so far, we're getting great feedback. We had some feedback on Sunday that was pretty awesome. Adrienne, what was it that she said?
Yeah, we had a homeschooling parent come, and she's been a member now for about 2 months, and she's really invested a lot of time into learning these materials. And she said that it's just been a real answer to her prayers. She was struggling to figure out how to meet the needs of her daughter, who has a pretty severe dyscalculia, and she feels like she found a solution that's working for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this was a parent who wears 2 hats, who's also an educator. So she's currently homeschooling, not in the classroom, but she was making connections with ways that she could use this content in her classroom as well when she's back in the classroom. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
wonderful.
just a snippet of like other members that are in here. We have admin team members who are like the math coach at their school. They're in here learning this stuff and taking it back to the teachers. So there's lots of ways to use the knowledge that's in here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so with that, if you have more questions about the preview that you just saw, let us know. But it's a monthly fee, and that is so that we can continue to provide a high level of service to you. And you can cancel at any time. And a lot of people have also given us the feedback that they're just going to hang out for their life because they really liked the things that they're seeing. And they particularly value those mentor calls where they get that support, live coaching. Often schools don't have the time or resources to give that to teachers either. But we've tried to create an environment where you can get the feedback that you need so you can adjust and really help that student. So we hope to see you inside of the club. And if you've got more questions, send them our way to support@madeformath.com.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.